Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. This is part two of my video and about Trump's trip in China. I'm going to discuss all the post-trip stuff that's been happening. If you've seen part one, thank you for joining for part two. Really appreciate it. And don't forget to watch the video from start to end. It really helps the algorithm, guys. You'll be helping me out, so I really appreciate that. So without further ado, let's start the show. So let's talk about Nvidia. So Jensen, um, last minute, he was added to the plane. He wasn't in the original list. So I think what happened was press noticed that he wasn't on the original list. So it was all over the newspapers, Washington Post, saying Nvidia boss was banned from the trip. So Trump noticed that and immediately called Jensen to join him in Air Force One. And Jensen was actually not in the United States. And so they made a plan that Jensen would fly to Alaska because before they go to China, they have to stop at Alaska. So Jensen basically flew to Alaska, and also Trump flew to Alaska, and they picked him up there in Alaska. And then from there, they went to China. And Jensen he goes to China a lot regularly, and there's pictures of him eating Chinese noodles, and he really enjoys his time when he goes to China. He really loves it there. He spends a lot of time in China. So they went, obviously. So the history is, guys, Nvidia, you know, is not allowed to sell to China the latest chip. I believe it's called the Blackwell chip. And the H200 was produced by Nvidia for the Chinese market, and then suddenly the H200 was banned to be used in the Chinese market, and then Trump obviously came, then Trump came up and he banned the lower versions of H200 to be sold in China as well. Because when Trump came in the second term, he thought China was really struggling and they had no chips. He thought he had cards with the Nvidia chips, and he would just sanction China, and they would capitulate and they would give up. But it wasn't the case because he's forgotten about Huawei. In his first term, he sanctioned Huawei so badly, that Huawei had to build all of its components in China. We are talking software, hardware, databases, everything, guys. They had to build their own e-business suite. They had to build everything from start to finish. They had to build their own operating system. But they were banned from everything. Google banned them, Oracle banned them, Nvidia banned them. Every Western company banned Huawei. They weren't allowed to work with Huawei. So Huawei, was heavily dependent on America at the time. Had to build everything in-house. Now, Huawei has become the competitor of Nvidia, all thanks to Trump. So obviously, the China did not like Trump waking up one day and banning all these Nvidia chips to China. And that was a problem. And if Trump didn't come back on his second term and start banning Nvidia chips, China would have gladly bought Nvidia chips. They had no problems with that. They would have been happy to pay for Nvidia chips. There's no issues. And if Biden didn't put all these restrictions on the Blackwell chip and to be allowed to be sold in China, then China would have been happy to buy Nvidia chips all day long. It's not a problem, guys. But the fact is, they've been placing all these sanctions and tariffs on China and banning the top-end Nvidia chip, and they've been banning their second big best one, the H200, from China, and the third and the fourth. And China had enough of it. You know, those of you who know China very well, they love stability. They want stability in a relationship with a country. They don't want a leader who wakes up one day, decides to put 145% tariffs on China, ban Nvidia chips, wake up the next day and realize it's a mistake, and then starts to negotiate himself out of it. This is the kind of business dealings you don't want to be dealing with. I'm sure a lot of you guys have businesses. What do you do with a difficult customer? You just get rid of them because it's just not worth the hassle. It's just not worth the headache. And yeah, this is why, guys. I mean, end of the day, China has two choices. They can pay Nvidia and allow Nvidia to grow and develop and put all of that money into research and development, and allow Nvidia to release more high-end chips and become better and better. Or China can use that money, develop their own industry, put that money into Huawei making chips, subsidize companies that use the Huawei chips, even though it's not as good as the Nvidia one. So, but still, it's the first iteration, and over time it will get better because as Huawei sells more and more of these, you know, chips that they've produced, that money will go into Huawei development, and they will come out with better versions. They'll come out with an improved version every few months. So it's much better to kind of put that money into your own development and put that money into China and build Chinese startups and put that money into Huawei, and they will build better and better chips. And over time, they will beat Nvidia. And that's the thing. And America has sanctioned the world so badly that nobody trusts them anymore. And Nvidia chips not only are not allowed to be sold in China, they're also not allowed to be sold in countries like Russia, Iran, all these highly sanctioned countries. They cannot buy American chips, and also global South countries, they cannot buy American chips, especially global South countries that don't align with America, and so they're not even allowed to buy the high end chips from Nvidia. So when China develops its own high-end chips, they can sell to these global South countries for a far cheaper price, and they can afford it. They can build their own industries. They can sell to countries who are heavily sanctioned, illegal sanctions, by the way. These are not legal sanctions. These are all illegal. All the sanctions on Iran, all the sanctions on Russia, they're all illegal, guys, because it didn't come from the UN. UN didn't ratify it, and so if China builds its own industry, they can start selling chips to all these global South countries, all these sanctioned countries. They can start selling equipment so they can build their own, manufacturing their own chip industry and build their own manufacturing. It's great for the global South, and this is how the global South will catch up with the West. And America hates it, and Nvidia hates it. Nvidia is such a big bubble, guys. It's a huge bubble, and it deserves to be crashing. And I think today I saw the Nvidia price went down because they couldn't manage to sell Nvidia chips to China, and the share price went down. So there's stories about how Trump basically bought Nvidia chips back in last year when he came into power, when he came into office. He bought Nvidia chips, and this was after he banned Nvidia chips from reaching China. And he bought all these shares. And then what happened was he allowed Nvidia to sell H200 to China. And the share prices for Nvidia went up. And Trump made a lot of money, his family made a lot of money, his friends made a lot of money from that, insider tip. And also, he made a deal with Nvidia as well. He said that for every chip that he sold to China, he wants a cut from it. So if one chip gets sold to China, Donald Trump wants a 25% cut or something along those lines. Not exactly the 25%, could be 20%, but you get the idea. He basically wants a cut. And and so he allowed those chips to be sent to China. Then China did some investigations and they found that some of these H200 chips, they have a backdoor code in it, which uh, which includes spying, hacking, remote shutdowns. So so basically, they're basically putting all these remote spying software or hardware into these chips and allowing them to go into China. And the reason they want to do that is because if these chips end up in, big massive AI data centers in China, they can spy on these data centers and also they can remotely shut down these chips. And that will, shut down the AI data center, and China would lose, billions of dollars a day, just by these data centers being shut down. So they can cause a lot of damage, guys. And plus, they can see where these chips end up as well because they have a remote tracking on these chips, so they can see which data centers they go to, which companies they go to, and things like that. So China realized, and that is the reason why Trump allowed these chips to go into China. There's no other reason. These remote, they wanted these chips to go into China, and basically they wanted to hack into all these systems. So luckily, China realized this, and they told all the companies not to buy any H200 chips, and all the major companies did not buy it, and all the smaller companies didn't even buy the H200. So far, as of now, that H200 is sold zero. No, there's been no sales from China for H200, absolutely zero. So Trump's plan completely failed. They tried to spy on China, sabotage their systems by selling the H200. It didn't work, and now they're out of options. Now Huawei's rising, and every single year you're going to see Huawei releasing a new chip, which is going to be closer and closer to Nvidia's Blackwell chip, and eventually they're going to be better than Blackwell chips. So I don't know why they could not sell Nvidia chips in the first place, because AI in China, you cannot stop it. I mean, AI is much, much advanced in China compared to the United States. You just have to look at all the AI stuff coming out of China, like, for example, Dance 2.0, the new DeepSeek. All these AI products are way, way better than what America throws out. So you know the AI is a race that America's just lost. They just cannot win, and they cannot beat China's data, because your AI is only as good as your data, and China has 1.4 billion people, so they have much, much more data compared to United States. And the United States has got a lot more strict regulations and guidelines with data. So a lot of companies are not even allowed to have the data that they're looking for. It's very, very difficult. But yeah, I think Nvidia as a company, it's finished, guys. It's absolutely finished. If you got shares in Nvidia, it's time to sell now, because H200 will never reach Chinese shores, and eventually China will release chips which are better than Nvidia chips, and the whole world will start buying them instead of Nvidia. Anyway, guys, let's talk about the second discussion I wanted to talk about. You see this picture? It's basically they are throwing all the Chinese gifts given to them, all the gifts that China's given to all the administration, the staff, the cameramen, security, and it was a lot of gifts, and they just threw it all in the trash, guys. All in the trash. It's very, very insulting. And you can see what they actually think of China, basically. They have no trust in China. They basically they're scared that basically China's going to have all these tracking devices or listening devices, bugging devices in these gifts, so they just throw them all away. But they're happy for Israel to do that. Israel has been bugging the American offices for decades. Israel has been giving gifts to Donald Trump and many other gifts as well. Do you guys remember when Israel blew up all these cages in Lebanon, and so many like people died or got injured, including innocent people, women and children. And it was an absolute disaster, guys. It was a real terrorist attack in Lebanon. And then Netanyahu comes in and gives Donald Trump a gold pager. I'm not joking, guys. He gave him a gold pager a few weeks later. Just basically, I think what he's trying to say is we carried out this operation in Lebanon, and we can carry it out anywhere, including in your offices. And this gold pager is basically still in Trump's office. Who knows if he's got an explosive device or not? But many kind of intelligence analysts are coming out. There's one guy called Kiriakou. I don't know if you heard of him. He's an ex-CIA intelligence guy, and he used to say that Israel basically has been bugging American offices for decades. And Americans know about it. The CIA know about it, FBI know about it, but they don't do anything because apparently Israel is their greatest ally, so they just let it pass. But any other country, like China, oh, spying, spying. Anybody that looks Chinese, they get called a spy in America. They get arrested. All the scientists who are Chinese get arrested. You know, any Chinese hanging around Congress, they get arrested. Same in Britain, by the way. You know, but Israel is allowed to basically do whatever the hell they want. They can take over all of Congress. 98% of Congress is owned by Israel, by AIPAC. So they can do whatever they want in America, but any other country, oh, it's spying, spying. Absolutely ridiculous, guys. Absolutely ridiculous. So finally, let's talk about Iran. So Trump said recently in an interview the reason he attacked Iran was to help Israel, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Bahrain. This is a lie because it's very common knowledge that he and Israel attacked Iran without telling Saudi Arabia or UAE. And UAE, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, these countries were not prepared for a war with Iran. So when Iran attacked Saudi Arabia and UAE and Kuwait because their bases was being used, their airspace was being used, and they got attacked. And Trump is on record to say he was shocked. He was saying, "Oh, nobody expected Iran to attack these Gulf countries. Nobody. We didn't let them know about Iran. Even the Gulf countries decided Trump didn't let them know about the war. It was all done by Israel and the United States, guys. So he's doing it to help Israel. He's not doing it to help any of the Gulf countries. No Gulf countries would have said, yes, let's attack Iran. Because at the end of the day, they're neighbors and they would be attacked by Iran as well. Saudi Arabia is surrounded by Iran and Yemen. They could attack Saudi Arabia from both sides. And UAE is right next to Iran. Bahrain and Qatar is right next to Iran, so they can be blown to smithereens by Iran if they wanted to. But Iran didn't. They just, picked the military bases. So it's all there to help Israel, guys. And if the Gulf countries and Iran fought each other, if they started a regional war, Israel would just step back and just smile because that means Israel has won. They're just letting the Muslims kill each other. This is what Israel wants for their Greater Israel projects. Let the Muslims kill each other, blow each other up, and then Israel will just quietly, take over the rest of the Middle East and turn it into Greater Israel. That's what they want, guys. It's not to help the GCC at all. And Trump recently also said that Iran sent United States a proposal. Trump apparently read the first line, he didn't like it, and he threw in the bin. And that's his attitude with Iran at the moment. And it sounds like he went to China to basically get some sort of agreement from China that, you know, basically they won't help Iran. I think that was probably discussed behind the scenes, probably. I think when Trump was walking with Xi, maybe he mentioned it. He says, when you guarantee you will not help Iran, not give them weapons. I don't think China would have guaranteed Trump anything. I don't think Trump, China would have said, "Yeah, we'll help you destroy our ally." No, no, they will never say that. I think in front of Trump, they'll probably, it's just Chinese diplomacy. In front of Trump, they'll probably say, you know, we cannot confirm or deny, but don't worry, we want nuclear-free region. But when they say nuclear-free region, they mean including Iran as well, and Israel as well, because Israel has secret nuclear weapons. So, China wants a nuclear-free region for all of Middle East, not just for Iran. And also, they also, clarified that they support Iran's sovereignty. And the Strait of Hormuz covers Iran's sovereignty because the Strait of Hormuz is actually part of Iranian borders. The sea, the law of the sea, the law of the sea says that you you as a country you can claim up to like 20-25 miles from your border, from your coast. And the Strait of Hormuz is around 20 to 25 miles at at the top. So it is part of Iran's border, so they can claim it if they want. So do I think United States and Israel will attack Iran again? I think they will, guys. I think what they're doing now, they're probably restocking their weapons, they're restocking their anti-aircraft guns, they're restocking their bombs, and they're getting ready for part three. I think that's what they're doing, and I think it'll be a lot more. I would say, I think they will hit Iran harder this time, and they will attack a lot more civilian infrastructure, power stations, oil facilities. I think that will happen, unfortunately. And I think Iran will fight back and fire back at the GCC, Iran, infrastructure, oil facilities, things like that. And the whole Middle East could go up in flames. Part three will be probably be a bigger battle. And yeah, I think it might be coming, guys, because end of the day, look, Trump. If it was up to Trump, I'm sure he would have said, "No, we're not going to attack Iran." But it's not up to Trump. I mean, he is surrounded by Zionists in his cabinet, in his administration. They're all diehard Zionists. Everyone in Congress are diehard Zionists. Literally, everybody around Trump is basically asking for this because that's what America has done. They've allowed Zionists to take over the whole government. And now they're gonna, this is why they're Israel first. They're gonna basically do what comes, what comes first for Israel. And don't worry about the American people, they come second. So I think Trump will go along with it, unfortunately. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. Um, that's it for now, guys. Take care for now, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I'll see you soon. Take care.